Hey there, everybody. I know it has been a really long time since I've shot one of these videos, but now that school is out and I am home from Too Many Games down in Pennsylvania, thanks to Screenwave Media and also thanks to Retro World Expo for helping me to get out there so I could promote the show. I do have some pickups that I want to share with you that I've picked up over the weekend and over the course of the last few hours, literally. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because I have a lot of things that I want to share. The first thing that I want to share is this guy. This is, and let me turn this so it's a little bit better for the camera. This is the Dreamcast fishing rod. This I never had when I had my Dreamcast originally from 1999 to early 2001. Even though I played Sega Bass Fishing, I never owned the fishing reel because I really just wasn't that into it. But I had traded away my Dreamcast in early 2001 towards getting a brand new PlayStation 2, and I'd kind of sworn it off. I've talked about this on video before. I won't go into the details. But when I got another Dreamcast at Retro World Expo last October, this was something that I knew that I wanted to get, but really couldn't find one. And I got this for $10 from Retro Games Plus down in Norwalk, Connecticut on my way back from Too Many Games. So I thought this was a pretty good deal, and it's amazingly clean. So it's super psyched to finally have one of these. What else do I have to show you? Yes. I do have some sports stuff to show you, and I'll try and go through it quickly so that I don't bore you. This is NHL 2K2 for the Dreamcast, which I've wanted. I have NHL 2K, but not 2K2. This is the last of the hockey games for the Dreamcast before Sega went to 2K3 for the PlayStation and Xbox 360, Xbox, original Xbox, and in GameCube. So I can't wait to play this, to actually try it, because I never played it. What else do I have over here? Oh, yes. Can you smell what the Dreamcast is cooking with WWF Royal Rumble? I actually played this in arcades. This actually was a coin-op, and it was converted to the Dreamcast. And because I've been on a little bit of a WWF Attitude Era kick lately, watching stuff on YouTube, some really funny promos and stuff, I thought that this was a must-get. So I'm glad that I have this now, and now I can play it with no tokens required, so it's a win-win. And for the Dreamcast, the last game that I picked up, and I'm really glad that I found this because I had been looking for it locally, but I thought the pricing was a little high. I saw it for as much as $20, and I didn't want to pay that. So I got this for $12. This is Metropolis Street Racer, which would eventually become Project Gotham Racing on the Xbox. This was one of the last Dreamcast games that I played before trading my Dreamcast away. So I have bittersweet memories of this game. I remember being really impressed with it, and I thought it was a really cool racing mechanic, but at the same time, it was the last game that I really liked for the system. It reminds me of when I traded it in because I was so angry at Sega for giving up on the system. But anyway, it is a cool find, and now I have it again, so I'll be looking forward to playing this when I get some spare time. So those are the Dreamcast games. I did get one PlayStation game, and I got this, or I got two PlayStation games, actually. I got this one from a pair of guys who were in the Retro World booth with us. They had some games to sell, and I wanted to pick this up, and I did. This is Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom. I am a big fan of the Wing Commander games, especially 3 and 4, with all of the full motion video and the recognizable actors. And I have 3 for the PlayStation, but 4 I didn't have, and now I do. It has the manual and everything on the inside. The only problem is that the double disc case is not in the best condition. But the discs are in good shape, and I'm just glad to own this again. I'm looking forward to putting this through its paces as well. And speaking of Dreamcast stuff, the last thing I got, or the second to last thing I got at the show, because I don't want to give away the big surprise yet, I picked up Pandemonium 2 for the PlayStation, which was published by Midway and created by Crystal Dynamics. I have the original Pandemonium, and I've been looking for 2 for months. And have not found it in the wild. I thought about ordering it online, but I couldn't pull the trigger, and I picked this up. So the disc is in great shape. The manual's in here. And even the case itself is in really good shape. So it's really, really cool that I finally own this, and I can't wait to play it. Now for the big surprise. And I'm going to duck out. Hopefully this is going to show on camera. I found 2 of these at a vendor in the far corner of Retro World Expo. And this is something that when I first saw it, I wasn't sure that I was going to get it because the price was a little bit high and I wasn't sure that I wanted to spend this kind of money on it. But at the end of the day, I did cave and I did buy it, and I'm glad I did. That right there is a Sony Pocket Station. This is a Japan-only memory card for the original PlayStation that we were supposed to get here in the U.S. but never did. This thing, to me, is just really cool. It operates as a regular memory card, and of course, now that I'm on camera, I'm not going to be able to open it. There we go. So it does open up. The shield opens up with all the buttons on the front, so you can insert it into your PlayStation and save actual games on there. But certain games like Final Fantasy VIII, Ridge Racer Type 4, I think, has some Pocket Station functionality. Street Fighter Alpha 3 does, but from what I've read, you have to enable a Game Shark cheat in order to make it work. But in any event, there's a screen on here that's much like the Dreamcast VMU, where you can actually go ahead and play a game and then put the memory card back into the slot with the game, and you can affect the outcome. So there's not really a lot of sound that we'll make, but it is cool and it does work. It does keep time. I did have to buy watch batteries for it, and I wasn't sure that it was going to work. I was really terrified that I was going to wind up with just kind of a showpiece. But now that I can actually use it as a memory card, I am really psyched to own this. Definitely reminds me of 1998, 99, especially 99, when we thought we were getting the Pocket Station, and then Sony said no at the last minute. So this is a really cool get, and is something I'm really going to treasure. Will I use it as an actual memory card? I might. It's really cool just to be able to carry around. You can actually see the Pocket Station logo on the chain, so I thought that was pretty neat. So that is the Pocket Station. So I got all that stuff at TooManyGames. I picked up a few strategy guides as well. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So maybe now I'll go back and try and play it again with a strategy guide and see if that helps. Also picked up the Wild Arms Alter Code F guide, which I did not have. Now to some stuff that I got today, either by mail or by visiting Game Depot. The first thing I want to show off is this. This is the Ice Blue DS Lite. The system is in good shape. I got this from GameStop, and I will talk about them shortly. And it's in great shape. It was one of their internally reconditioned models. The backlight is fantastic. The screen looks great. And the reason I got this is because I'm getting back into getting GBA games. And I really didn't want to pay the extra money for an AGS 101 with the brighter backlight. So I figured I would just get this. That way I can play the wealth of DS games I have, and at the same time play some GBA games as well. In fact, sorry about turning away from the camera there. I did get some GBA games as well. For example, this is Final Fantasy IV Advance. Final Fantasy IV is my favorite of the Final Fantasy games. And as if that is not enough, I also got, I am not organized, sorry about that. I also got Final Fantasy VI Advance as well. So having those to play on the go is exceptionally cool, and one of the reasons that I wanted to get the DS Lite to begin with. I also have here Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and I have Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire. I'm a big pinball head, so of course I'm happy to have that. And I have Mario Golf Advance Tour. Sorry about that. And that's just the start. I'm hoping to get more Game Boy Advance games in the coming days and weeks. Game Boy Advance to me doesn't get enough love. We talk about the Nintendo DS and the 3DS having fantastic libraries, and they most certainly do. But for my money, the Game Boy Advance just had a fantastic library. I liked the idea of having a portable Super Nintendo entertainment system. And that's really, to me, what that was. Plus, there were some really cool games outside of being a Super Nintendo system. Like Advance Wars was never on the Super. That was a Game Boy Advance only thing. Pinball of the Dead, which I hope I can find at some point in the not too distant future, was a Game Boy Advance only thing. And there are tons of other games that I'm looking forward to being able to either play again or play for the first time. So I am super glad to have that DS Lite, and it works fantastically well. It takes me back to 2006, but that's okay by me. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff that I got. And I'm sorry I'm moving around so much, but I have things precariously placed so I can get to them. This is Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, and it's very dark. There we go. Maybe you can see it that way. I don't know why it is that I wanted this game. I think it was because I heard the music playing a few weeks ago, and then it got me thinking. I never really gave this game a fair shot. I was more attracted to the original Super Mario World and the traditional kind of platforming. This is a little bit different, but it's grown on me, both watching videos and listening to the music, and to the point where I wanted to own it. And I'm happy to say that the battery still works and the cartridge is functional. So thanks GameStop for this. But again, I will get to them. All right. More GameStop stuff. These are two of these are okay ticket items, and one of them is a pretty big ticket item. That right there is Beyond the Beyond, which I didn't know that Camelot, the company that made Golden Sun, and of course the Hot Shots Golf, Mario Tennis games, that this was theirs. I had no idea until I was watching a video on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, and then I realized that I wanted to own the game. And in playing it, it is a little bit slow. It feels like a 16-bit RPG bumped up to 32 bits and put on disc for no real reason. But I really don't have a lot to say on it just yet. Then, in this disc, and I'm going to turn it so that you guys can see it a little bit better. This... And I'm going to pronounce the name wrong. This is Suikoden here, and I know I'm saying it wrong, and you can correct me in the comments if you want. And the reason I got that was because, well, I also got the sequel. That's Suikoden 2 there, and that's the big ticket item. I have heard so much about the Suikoden games, and I actually owned the first back in 1996, and I played it, and I really wasn't that impressed with it. But to be fair, I really wasn't huge into RPGs at that point. I was just coming off of the Final Fantasy 3 and Chrono Trigger, and I was feeling a little bit burnt out. So when I bought this, I played it a little bit, and it didn't feel like my thing. So I cast it aside, then I wound up trading it in towards Final Fantasy 7 not long after. But with the Suikoden games, especially with 2, which I've never played, I've heard so many good things about it. It was difficult for me to not own it. And GameStop was running a really good trade-in deal where there was up to 70% more in-store credit. I had some games that I figured that I would get rid of that are modern, and I got some pretty good value out of them to the tune of $300 worth. So I went ahead and I ordered a bunch of stuff from GameStop to add to my retro collection, and Suikoden 2 is one of the biggies. So I'm glad to have those finally. Unfortunately, the other big ticket item that I got, which was Sunset Riders for the Genesis, which was a $40 game, I got a repro cart back in the mail as part of the package. And not only was it a repro cart, but on the inside, when you put the game in the Genesis, it plays Eternal Champions. I aired the video that I shot with my phone showing my disgust. And you can check that out later if you want. So it was kind of some hits and some misses in terms of what I got. I still do have some money left over that I am going to spend on the online store just because I really don't want to get any more modern stuff. But I think I'm going to be sticking with retro discs or cheaper Game Boy Advance games because those are a lot more difficult to reproduce. than cartridges are. It's just too bad that I can't trust GameStop with retro carts anymore, because I would buy more from them. I really want to trust them. I just can't. Now to talk about my favorite video game store locally, like within driving distance from my house. There are two of them. There's Retro Games Plus in Connecticut, which I love, but they're a little bit more of a driving distance away. Game Depot in Holyoke is my other go-to place, and I got hooked up with some cool stuff today. For example, this is Dead or Alive for the PlayStation, which I don't own. I don't know how I don't own it, but I don't own it. So now I do. Also picked up, and I was kind of happy to see this there. This is the Intellivision Classic Games Collection. I have the Activision one, which sadly isn't very good, but I didn't have the Intellivision one, so now I do. And I was glad to find that. This is a double, but it's a black label. This is Jet Moto for the PlayStation, a game that I do have, but I have the greatest hits version, and it's nice to have a black label version of this game. I am terrible at this, but I like the style. And again, it's a single track game, and as you'll see in a minute, single track is kind of a theme, at least with one other game that I got. This is pretty interesting. I got this basically because it's complete. And I've never seen a game that requires what this requires. This is Riven, the sequel to Myst, which was published by Acclaim, and Sunsoft has something to do with it. This this is a 5-disc PlayStation game. Now, I've seen 4-disc games, but never a 5-disc until now. And all 5 discs are here. As well as the instruction manual. Now, I have not played Myst before. I have a feeling that this game may not necessarily be my cup of tea, but it's still a pretty neat thing to look at, and graphically it looks pretty cool, so I can't wait to try it. All right. This is Tokyo Highway Battle for the PlayStation, a game that goes back to 1996. This game is basically where Tokyo Extreme Racer eventually evolved from. But the reason that I like this particular game so much is because the soundtrack is oh so good. Such good guitar work, good enough, in fact, that I can play the CD in my truck and drive along, and it's that good. The game is so-so. There's a button for drifting, which is new, but there's some really neat full motion video. You get to race against the Drift King, who apparently is a thing, but still, this was a cool find, and it was only a couple of dollars, so why not? I might actually have this already, but if I have a double, that's okay. Also, this is a green label, but that's okay. This is Twisted Metal 2, another single-track game. I didn't own this, and I don't own the original Twisted Metal, and I really need to fix that because the Twisted Metal games are important in PlayStation history. The original Twisted Metal I did buy on a whim when it first came out, and I was kind of, it was okay, but 2 was just crazier and more over the top, and that's really where I started to develop a love for the series. Between this game and Twisted Metal Black, those are my main Twisted Metal experiences, and they're really, really good. Couple more things. This here is Capcom vs. SNK2 EO for the GameCube. I did have a copy of this for the GameCube that I had found disc only, but the disc was not in very good shape and had difficulty reading on my Wii. But this now, instead of the disc only, I now have the game complete. The disc is in good shape, and now I can try and play Capcom and SNK Fighter with the tiny GameCube control pads, so that ought to be interesting. And last but not least, I have a sealed game. This is PlayStation 2 Greatest Hits version of Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. I'm not going to open this yet. I thought about opening this on camera, but I want to keep this sealed for a little while until I get some more games to open up. when this game came out in 2001, the PlayStation 2 library was starting to get stale. A lot of people were waiting for the next big PlayStation 2 game to really show us what the hardware could do. And as it turns out, if you haven't played Gran Turismo 3 on a PlayStation or you haven't seen it running, you're missing out. This really showed off the power of the Emotion Engine. It is an absolutely gorgeous game. It looks fantastic. It runs at 60 frames per second. It's fast. There's a lot to do, a lot to unlock, as long as you're willing to put in the time. And it's a really cool game for either arcade people like myself or for simulation drivers. The fact that I found this sealed, I really couldn't pass up getting it, and at some point I will open it, just not today. So that is what I've picked up of late. I do have like I said, I do have some more GameStop store credits, so I'm going to have to try my luck with the online store again. But I'll be getting discs-only stuff this time, and chances are it may be pretty high-value stuff. We'll have to see what it is that I wind up picking out. In terms of videos, I'm going to try and do more. Now that I'm out of school, now that I'm working on a book, that's all I can tell you right now. I can't give out the details. But now that I'm working on a book, I'm doing an average of a review to 2 reviews a day for this particular book. And it's written. It's not video. But I have a little bit more time, usually at night, to be able to get in front of the camera and talk about a few things. I can talk about the Super NES Classic, which it's cool that it's coming, but I have some issues with that. I can also talk about what games I'm playing and try and give my video channels a bit more attention now that I'm off of school for the summer. But again, my big focuses this summer are working on the book, and again, that's going to take a lot of time. And also getting ready for Retro World Expo, since I'm on the planning team for that this year. It's been a heck of a ride. Getting a chance to go to TooManyGames and meet all these incredible people and also be able to check out and even buy some really cool stuff was amazing. And I will talk about that on video sometime down the road, hopefully a little bit later this week. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me or for checking me out for the first time if you are. And I am really going to try, although I can't make any promises, to get videos up more regularly over the summer, as long as it doesn't get too hot and I can keep the air conditioning off. So thanks for watching this epic video, which is now over 23 minutes long, and I will talk to you soon. Until the next time, my friends, take care.